Hi, I'm Sarah from the upcoming A Real Pleasure to be with you here in beautiful, beautiful Cannes. Maybe you could begin with a brief introduction to your film for people who haven't seen it yet. What can they expect going in?
For me, the mysterious gaze of the Flamingo talks about chosen families that queer people create in violent times in order to survive that with a lot of tenderness uh, in their lives.
And in terms of where this might sit in terms of genre or influences, I love that it kind of mixes, kind of like there's a bit of a Western in there.
Yes.
There's pulling on sort of queer melodrama. There's sort of magic realism. What might you have taken some of your inspirations, and how did you want it to look and feel?
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening in this film, like a lot of things and drama and humor, and you will find everything. And I think that it was like a intention that was made because of the point of view of the teenager. That to have the point of view of a teenager allow us to play more with the poetic side, with the humor, and mix it all, and in a good way, I think. And for me, it was always an interesting thing to work with. Teenagers' point of view, because I feel and I want to create like a child or like a teenager. So when even my previous shorts, my shorts talk through children or teenagers' point of view, because it gives you more liberties to do, and that's how I feel too. So that allow us to play with the genres, and it's very natural.
And I understand kind of what was underpinning it were your own personal memories of, having people suffering from HIV around you. So what made you want to kind of explore some of those memories, some of the questions that might raise, but through this particular kind of way of storytelling?
Yes, there's a familiar story with AIDS. Me and my family will come from the suburbs of Santiago, the capital. My family during that time, my parents build hairdressers, and they bring the gay men to cut the hair, and all of them die of AIDS. And when I was growing up, my mother was really close to them. But when I was growing up, she gave me a very terrifying story of AIDS, and I was very terrified about this disease. But when I was growing up and I came out of the closet, and my brother too, we were very related to the queer community, of course, and we saw the story from a different point of view, and luminous point of view. That was the most interesting way of telling this story.
And I guess by having it through Lydia's gaze, you constantly have this slightly sort of innocent perspective in a way. At some point, one of the older people is saying to her, well, I think you're smart enough to not believe these stories.
Yes.
But of course, when you're young, you don't know the difference between
Yeah.
what is a fantastical story and what is truth. So what do you think the effect is from putting it from that point of view?
Yeah, it makes everything like when you are a teenager, you are trying to discover things and settle your own vision of the world. For me, it was that she was settling her vision of the world, and she has a very weird context. But for her, it was a discover. She was discovering things all the time, and at the same time she was discovering a terrifying disease. She was also discovering love and non-romantic love, and she was getting aware of who she had in her life.
And this particular group that you focus in on, I guess there's kind of the fact that they are marginalized and kind of ostracized is, overtly a negative thing. But then there's something quite joyous about the bond they have, their self-sufficiency. So what did you want that to kind of represent, of both sort of the struggle, but also the plus sides of kind of having that tight-knit community?
I was very moved by that, and I think that that's, as I said, like the core of the film. I'm a close friend of Paula Dinamarca, who plays Boa, Mama Boa in the story. She told me a lot of stories that were really inspiring for me. How they survive these times, creating these families, it was like a very natural, very human thing. So it really moves me a lot. She told me a lot of stories, and I was very happy to being the person in charge of telling that, and with a lot of responsibility too, but in a free way. I didn't feel the pressure, but I really wanted to tell it in a very kind way, because that's the feeling that I get from her mostly.
And in terms of the dynamic and relationship between the group and the minors, for example, you know, the way that evolves, there's kind of a sense of hope there in the fact, in the way they sort of learn to coexist and even find intimacy. How do you think that plays into questions about how, you know, society can be more connected and tolerant, particularly in today's world, where it feels like maybe we're actually regressing in some ways?
Yes. That's for me a very important thing. I think that even if we are super connected right now with technology, we're coming back fascism, and they are taking out all of the rights. We saw it. It's not like it's not an idea. It's a real thing today. So even if people is struggling. If we are telling a story of people struggling 50 years ago, it's the same struggle that we have now, and we need to learn from our ancestors in the queer community. How they survive is the way that we need to survive today, and tenderness and to look at each other at the eye is a very key point of that.
And what has it meant to you to have the film here at Cannes Film Festival? And I guess having that platform to perhaps raise these questions, throw a spotlight on this working class community, this queer community that maybe don't often get screen time. How important is that to you?
It's very, very important. For me, I feel really grateful with the festival. I think that it's going with the times. Cannes Film Festival is not, it doesn't have a statement, but when you see the films, you really feel that they are in the right position.
100%. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank you
that
so
with me.
much.
Huge congratulations on the film.
Thank you.